to Books with Kimberly. I hope y'all enjoyed this video today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos, and get down in those comments, y'all, and talk back to me, because I do reply and I love to hear what you guys have to say. So let's get into the books I read in the month of August. There was a theme in the 4 books that I read, and that theme was insta love, and I wasn't totally here for it in these books this month. So to break down what insta love is, it's basically when 2 people or 2 characters meet in a story and instantly they're in love. Like Romeo and Juliet, as soon as Romeo and Juliet met each other, they were in love. They forget that their families are feuding, they wanted to be together. Or Cinderella, as soon as Prince Charming saw Cinderella at the ball, he was instantly in love with her, and he went on a journey of finding her shoe and trying to figure out who Cinderella was, because he was instantly in love with her and knew he wanted her to be his queen. So that's what insta love is, and it's a theme that was in all of these. So I'm going to start off with my 5-star reads, which you guys should already know if you've been keeping up with my videos. The first book is The Vanishing Half by Bennett. 5 stars, y'all. I would give it more if I could. I was so in love with this book. I did a standalone review, so go and watch that if you haven't. Go and watch it again if you need a refresher. I'll briefly say that this book is about 2 twins. At the age of 16, they run away to New Orleans, and while in New Orleans, one of the sisters, in the middle of the night, she leaves and decides that she wants to pass as a white woman. They come from this town of Malheur where everyone is light-skinned, and so they have this light-skin privilege, and one of the sisters decides to pass, and it's about the journey of both of these sisters as well as their daughters, who the story kind of continues through their viewpoints. I will say, which I left out of my standalone review, is that there is LGBTQIA representation in this book, which I thought was really good. And I'm not going to speak on what that is. I don't want to spoil it. We'll talk about that when the miniseries comes out by HBO, which I'm so excited about. So we'll talk about it then. But I will say that there was a little bit of insta love in this book between the daughter Jude. She meets a guy who she's instantly like attracted to, and you know, they start up this connection, and it was really cute the way they met at this little Halloween party, and they started talking and they started vibing, but it was very slow because they were in the friend zone with each other for a long time. So I think that's an example of insta love being done right. My second 5-star read of August was One to Watch by Stayman London. I really had fun doing that review, so go back and watch it if you haven't, and if you have, go back and look at it. I don't mind, and talk back with me. This book is about a plus-size blogger who gets the chance to be the first plus-size bachelorette on the show called Main Squeeze, and she has 25 men vying for her love. There was insta love in this book as well. The contestant who B really falls for, it happened really instantly, and I will say that is a critique of mine, is I didn't understand why she was so head over heels for him. I'm like, there was another guy who I thought was really sweet, really funny and caring, and I was more liking him and thinking she should go that way. And so her all of a sudden going on one date with this guy, they have this dance together, and all of a sudden he's her top runner, that really confused me. But I was going back and reading the chapter where they went on their first date, like trying to understand what special thing happened to make them all of a sudden like so drawn towards one another. And I mean, I didn't get it. I still don't get it. And that is the drawback of insta love. If it's not done well, then the reader doesn't really understand, like, okay, I get that 2 people meet, y'all in love now, but if it doesn't make sense, like that initial connection, it wasn't written well enough, it wasn't strong enough, then you kind of just like, why did you throw this in there? So now I'm going to go into the 2 books I read that I was not very fond of. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Sex and Vanity by Kwan. I was very disappointed by this book. I was obsessed with the Crazy Rich Asian series. Like, it was so good. Side note, I did not like the movie. So this book is based off a movie called A Room with a View. The main characters' names are the same and the relationships are the same. It's just she changed up the settings, the character backgrounds a little bit, but it's basically the same. And so the book is about this girl named Lucy. Her and her cousin Charlotte go on a trip to Capri for a wedding of Lucy's friend from high school. She's getting married. She's having this big, opulent, rich, fabulous wedding. They have a week of tours, boat rides, all leading up to this wedding. So that kind of dragged too much for me. That was kind of like my first, like, okay, can you speed this up? So the book, one of the interesting things about the book is the cousin, she complained a lot, which I did kind of like the cousin because she was very rich. She was white. The main character is half Asian, half white. And so the cousin, she's very rich and uppity, and she's complaining because the room that they have at this 5-star hotel, they don't have a room with a view. I think their view is of the alley. And so this lady and her son hear them complaining at the cafe, and they insist on switching rooms so that they could have the room with the view. I guess that's where the movie gets its title from. So they switch rooms, and Lucy and the son, they kind of stare at each other, but she thinks the son is weird. Throughout the week in Capri, her and the son, they bump into each other a few times, and finally at the wedding reception, they go off and have a little moment. And the book after that, it fast forwards to 5 years where Lucy is getting engaged to another man. George, which is the guy who she hooked up with, and him and his mom switch rooms with them. He moves to New York, and all of a sudden she's conflicted on whether or not she's going to get married. And that's where the insta love comes in. Spoiler alert, George ends up professing his love to her, and I'm just like, you knew this girl from one trip to Capri. Like, y'all had maybe 3 moments together, like 3. And after 3 moments, you so in love with her, you know her better than her fiance does, which is true, but I mean, how realistic is that? Now, the fiance was trash, so I definitely wanted her to leave him. But the insta love, I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't get that initial connection from these two characters to really believe that him being in New York is such an issue, and it has her rethinking her marriage. She should have been rethinking her relationship with her fiance, because he, wasn't a good guy. I gave it 3 stars, but really it's a 2.5 rating for me. And what I think saved this book is it did have its funny moments. The cousin Charlotte was funny. And another thing I liked about this book is it touched on racism, but in a way that I'm not used to reading about it. Well, sometimes, because I did read Little Fires Everywhere, and it kind of touched on the racism that Asians face. And so this girl, her being half white, half Asian, and her dad died when she was a young age, her being a part of this very, I can't remember the last name, but it's this uppity family. It makes me think of Gossip Girl, like the Waldorfs and Vanderbilts, like this uppity Upper East Side New York family. She's born into that, and the grandmother and the cousins, they were always making little remarks to her like, oh, you're lucky you don't have the regular Asian features, or the grandmother would be doing her hair and like, oh, I can't do anything with this hair. And that's racism. And she tries to tell her cousin, like, I never felt like I fit into this family because of the remarks and everyone making me feel like an outsider in the comments people would make about my mom, who her mom is, Asian. And also the fiance, one of the reasons he was trash is because, like, it had a section where he was talking to his mom about, oh, he can't wait to have babies with her because they're gonna, like, not age as fast because of her Asian genes. I'm like, so that's all you want her for? Like, so that y'all can make pretty biracial babies? Like, I ain't like that. So going to my last book of August that I finished, And y'all, I give this book 3 stars, and I'm gonna stay with 3 stars just because at the end it picked up. But I did not like this book. I really was disappointed the whole time I was reading it. And that book is Cinderella is Dead by Kalynn Bayron. I was really excited to read this book because if y'all go back to my July, August to be read video, I talked about how I saw the little black girl on the cover and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be like the Brandy version of Cinderella. Completely different, completely different. It takes place 200 years after Cinderella has died. It's this town where Cinderella and Prince Charming, whatever kingdom he ruled, that's where this book is set in place. It's like Marseilles. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but that's okay. The main character's name is Sophie. And the book starts off with Sophie letting us know right off the bat she in love with her best friend Aaron. And Aaron is a girl. Both of them are getting ready for a ball. Every year there's a ball for the young girl. They have to get dolled up like Cinderella did. This society is very much built on the Cinderella story. They make the girls read it. The ball is just like hyped up as this is where they go to find their husbands, to find their match. They tell the young girls that if you're good, if you're obedient, if you listen, if you stay in your place, that the fairy godmother will visit you like she did Cinderella, and you'll find a husband and get your happily ever after. Sophia is not into this ball at all because of course in this society they don't accept same-sex relationships. So she's thinking like, I need to get out of this, and she's trying to convince Aaron to run away with her to see what is beyond Marseilles and this king and his rules. Sophia, she tries to convince her friend to run away, but the friend doesn't want to do that. Sophia meets a little guy and he actually comes out to be gay. And he shows up the day of the ball and he decides like, you know what, I'm going to marry you, and then the two of us can run away and we can live the lives that we want to live. Okay, sounds like a good plan, but of course that does not happen like that. And instead Sophia runs away, and this is where the insta love comes in, y'all. She runs away literally 3 hours earlier on her carriage ride to this ball. She's begging and crying Aaron to run away with her, but literally 3 hours later she runs into the forest, runs into another girl, and instantly she's attracted. Insta love. And I'm just like, come on girl, like you was just in love with your best friend 3 hours ago and you just forgot about the girl, and all of a sudden it's all about this stranger you don't know. She could turn you into the king because you done ran away and made a whole spectacle of the ball. Sophie decides that, okay, if the king is after me, what I need to do is kill him before he can kill me. And so they go on this journey of like, how can we kill the king, A, and how can we find out the real story of Cinderella? So now I can go into why I didn't like this book. A, I didn't like this book because the story building, like they don't talk about the rules. They don't talk about like what are some of the things that the king did that were so bad. So it really kind of, I lacked care. Like you have to care as a reader. I needed to know, what were these rules? Why were women treated this way? Why did men think they can put their hands on them? Like I needed more backstory of why is this the king's fault? I just felt like the story building wasn't really that good. I didn't like the main character. I mean, I liked, you know, her main issue because the first few chapters had me. I'm like, ooh, what's she gonna do? Like, I don't want her to go to the ball either, but then she kind of came off as very selfish. The instant love was another thing. I didn't like how she all of a sudden is so in love with this girl Constance, and she then forgot about the little friend Aaron she was trying to run away with. So yeah, you guys, those are my books. I only read 4. I was a little like, I only read 4, but I have to remember that there are months where I do no reading. And then there are months where I read 1 book. So any book that you read, or even if you started a book, you deserve to pat yourself on the back. Even if you just looked up a book and you put it, this is what I want to read, I'm going to go read this later, give yourself a pat on the back. Thanks for watching another Books with Kimberly video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it.